Welcome, my friends, to another edition of More Bad News, brought to you, as always, by Camel Cigarettes. Take the Camels Challenge, smoke Camels for 30 days, and see for yourself what a difference Camels can make in your life. When I was a child growing up in America, America was in love with tobacco smoking. You could see it celebrated everywhere. In Times Square in New York City, the Camel's billboard belched out smoke 24 hours a day. We watched late night talk shows, and all of the hosts smoked, and everybody who came smoked. Mickey Mantle smoked. The action figures in the westerns would break for commercial, and everybody would, they would take out their cigarettes and smoke and tell you the wonders of their particular brand. And no brand was loved more than Camels. Those were the days, my friends. We thought that they would never end, but obviously they have. And I know it's been another week of very bad news. Um, and, you know, our tendency, our minds tend to focus. Like you see two little ants walking, on the, and you're a child, and you begin to watch them, and everything else disappears, and everything is these two little ants. I've said before that nothing is going to change with this election, that we don't have agency any longer to affect our future. And I've been thinking about this. I've been saying repeatedly that in 2012, so I came up upon a 2010. This was an essay I wrote for my promotion, for my post-tenure, merit. I came in last. They absolutely denied. They didn't give me any credit for it because I began. It was entitled "The Angel of Death: Teaching from the Depths." And I began by saying, I have no philosophy of history. And they said, well, the question was, what is your philosophy of history? And you said you had none, so you got 0 points for that. That was it. So let me share this with you. I just will say also that I was extremely disliked by my colleagues. And one year I was convinced to run for the union rep for my area for arts and sciences. And I don't know, there's 100 and so many, faculty members. And so there were two of us who were running. There were two reps and there were two people running. So there was no competition. Even if I got 2 votes, I would have been elected. And so me and a friend of mine were, standing for election. He got 100% of the vote, and I got 50% of the vote. In other words, of my colleagues, half of them, even though they didn't have a choice, would not vote for me to be the union rep. And I served this. It was a 2-year term, and the next round they got somebody to run against me, and they replaced me, and that was the last time I was elected for anything. So I began this. I have no philosophy of history. I have no philosophy of education. I have only the tattered remnants of an ancient theology and a guardian angel, the angel of death, who protects me from illusions. At the age of 3, I was diagnosed with Bright's disease. My kidneys were going to fail, and when that happened, I was going to die. And from the age of 3 to the age of 13, the angel of death pursued me. Waking in the middle of the night in intense pain, going down the hall to my parents' bedroom, I would wake my mother. The terror on her face left me with little hope and protected me from illusions. So I have a little advantage here because really I have always seen the angel of death as my guardian angel. I've never feared death. And it's made an incredible difference in the way I view things, because if you're not afraid of dying, you're really not afraid of anything. You don't want to suffer. So once upon a time, I knew things. This is going back to the essay. Now I only know what I knew or what someone else knew to be reality. I can explain a perspective, but I'm no longer sure that I know anything. This is a serious problem for a professor who wishes to indoctrinate students or to apply for a merit promotion. On a fundamental level, I don't know what I'm doing. But there seems to be some redeeming values to my incompetence. Max Cantor, one of our uh, uh, magna cum laude history graduates, commented, quote, "It seems to me that the university education is really about subordination to authority and imposed ignorance. Classroom discussion is usually subordinated to assumptions that ideologically preserve and legitimate power. It is refreshing for me to take a class where those assumptions aren't a reflexive presupposition for discussion. For Max, I was a breath of fresh air because I wasn't selling anything, not truth, not critical thinking or liberal values or historical consciousness. I'm a thoroughgoing pessimist. I do not believe that we can learn from history how to create a utopian society or even how to improve society. If we are evolving towards anything, it seems to me we are evolving towards death, and individual death and the death of our culture, our species and life on this planet. And as we evolve towards death, we see the evolution of evil from primitive forms of brutality to advanced technological systems of evil. I do not believe in progress. The parallel tracks of good and evil run in opposite directions. The rabbis tell us that Moses was like the sun and his disciple Joshua was like the moon. We travel in a dismal darkness where the sun appears to be only a cold speck of light in the distant firmament. We live on a planet where the orangutan are being driven to extinction so that the palm oil plantations can supply the cosmetics industry, and where the word gendercide is used to characterize the fact that there are 100 million fewer girls than boys. We have traveled away from the light towards the darkness. We use, what use is history as we approach our terminus? So, and to just give you traditional Jewish view, the closer we were to revelation, that's the closest we ever got to God. And then the further away you get from revelation, the colder, the further you are in the universe, away from the source of life, the source of knowledge, the source of everything. And so it's that view that I see. What is the nature of reality? That seems to be the theme in all my classes. We all are thinking about what is going on. We know what is right and what is wrong, just like Terry Nichols, who got in his van, drove to Oklahoma and killed 300 people. He knew what was right. In my history classes, I told them about the Windover burial site in Florida, dated 7,500 years before present, 7,500 years ago, over 2,500 years before Abraham. And they found there are 170 individuals preserved in an acid-free vacuum provided by a very unusual bog. So there's this burial site, 170 bodies buried. The level of preservation was unprecedented. The bodies were all in flexed positions and wrapped in blankets made of very fine woven thread. If it was a family group, one member of the family had been born with a terrible birth defect, spina bifida, an opening at the base of the spine. Through determined efforts, they kept the baby alive until the child succumbed as a teenager. The child was non-productive and must have taken a huge collective effort to sustain. Why did they do it, I asked. Perhaps this one student replied the child was royalty. Or, I suggested, perhaps all their children were royalty. We know that from the cloth that we found, their fingers could do things that modern fingers cannot do. They had greater dexterity than we have today. They were smaller, but stronger and more resilient than we are today. They invented weapons that allowed them to dominate their world, a world filled with mammoths, bears as big as buffalo, and saber tiger cats. Yet these little people dominated that world so completely that they were able to turn their attention to the care of one child in a hopeless effort to keep that child alive one more day. These people were not only more intelligent than we are today, they were more humane. Over the past 7,500 years, we have lost our humanity. And I am particularly interested in the history of this process of dehumanization, which some have called the evolution of evil. So I realized that from that perspective, um, it, it doesn't matter what happens with Joe Biden or Donald Trump. My friends, we have another week, and I would uh, recommend finding whatever meaning you can in another week of life. And with that, I will bid you adieu. I'm also going to be posting another one of my religion-focused themed videos today. So I hope you enjoy that. But be my it's for people who are interested in that kind of stuff. It's sort of esoteric. Okay, so with that, I will wish you a good week.